प्रतिष्ठिता मनो मे वाचि प्रतिष्ठितम् आविराविर्मयेधि वेदस्य आणीस्थ श्रुतं मे मा प्रहासीः अनेनाधीतेनाहोरात्रान् सन्दधामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारमवतु वक्तारम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः Om. May my speech be firmly established in my mind. May the mind too be firmly established in my speech. May there be perfect correspondence between my thoughts, words, and actions. O self-effulgent Lord, be revealed in my consciousness. May the truths of the scriptures come to me. May not what I learn from them ever forsake me. Let me live my life day and night according to their teachings. I shall speak what is appropriate. I shall speak the truth. May that protect me. May that protect the teacher. Om. Peace. 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 Let us feel our true divine nature as a bird trying to rise, fly higher and higher. Of course, the bird can just survive easily on the ground or hovering around the ground by eating all tidbits and worms. But there is no satisfaction in that. There is no purpose. Just surviving No, I want to go explore the truth. I raise myself, powered by mighty wings. I am overcoming the gravitational pulls and the drags of sense pleasures. Feeling more and more the joy of freedom. And I find I am merging with the infinite, luminous existence itself. I am that. Om. Peace, peace, peace. So, dear friends, let us begin the discussion on this wonderful biography of Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna Leela Prasanga, divine play. Sri Ramakrishna and his divine play. Play in the sense of being a stage show. On the stage, you see which is real but not real, both. Means the events that are being shown, they are really shown, but then that is not to be taken as literally true because the person is not that. It is just an assumed identity that is being presented there. So Sri Ramakrishna is doing this play as a human being. So, yeah, thank you. It is Sri Ramakrishna is showing, exhibiting a human play, like somebody exhibiting, say, Antony and Cleopatra. So it is that person may be different, both of them are not really Anthony's and Cleopatras, but that is what you see them on the stage. So, Sri Ramakrishna is God in human form on the stage. He is a human being, actually not a human being. So it is divine, but in the human form. So this is the idea that comes here in this mantra, this verse that we recite in the beginning of every class that on Tuesdays that we have on Sri Ramakrishna. So let us begin that it is Tava kathamritam tapta jeevanam kavibhiriditam kalmashapaham Shravanamangalam Srimadattatam Bhuvi grinante te Bhurida jana. Vishwanath, read the translation. There is no translation? Yeah.
The devoted gopis are saying to Krishna, the nectar of thy excellences revives the scorched spirits of the people. It purifies the person from all sins. Holy persons live on this nectar. So here it itself brings auspiciousness, peace, and serenity. They are the real benefactors of the world, who spread thy name far and wide. O Lord, tarry not to come before our vision.
So, this lila or this sport, divine sport or divine play, is very purifying because we then get an idea, an impression that I too am divine. Each of us is divine, but we do not know this. We are not aware of this great idea, great truth that I am divine. I feel I am a human being, this is my date of birth, and this is how I look, and these are my capabilities, these are my skills. I am a very good singer, or I am a good painter, I am a mathematician, whatever, that we identify ourselves with that. But when we see somebody like Sri Ramakrishna and thus see that he, although he is like us, is actually divine, and in him there is everything that we are looking for in life. And we realize thus that I am divine too by looking at that. That this is the way that we purify ourselves. Purification is this, that to push away this dirt, and that is what purification, isn't it? And that there is the dirt and dust sticking on our person. We take a shower, apply soap and all that, and the dirt is gotten rid of. So this is a dirt that I am a human animal or human being. It is to be taken off. That is purification. I am divine. Even the thought I am divine makes you feel so purified. It is a matter of feeling that yes, now I am pure, I am divine. And this we get by looking at Sri Ramakrishna, a human being and yet divine. So I too am like that. It is by looking at that we learn. I told you the incident when a little girl was telling me how to drink the soup. Her mother had brought hot soup to all of us assembled there at their home, and this little girl was sitting by my side, and then she thought that I will burn my mouth by sipping that hot soup. So she said, watch me, watch me. And she took the spoon. So it is by watching then we learn, okay, got it? She said to me, got it? So it is that Sri Ramakrishna as it were is showing us that look, I am divine, isn't it? I am manifesting that divinity. So you too are divine. And then that thought makes us push aside this dirt of millions of unfulfilled desires. And that is the dirt. And that makes us unhappy. Desire means unhappiness. So it is because I am craving for something that Buddha therefore called this is the cause of suffering. Tanha in Pali, he used this word tanha. Sanskrit word trishna means craving. I want something. So, and that is what makes us miserable. And this dirt is removed by looking at the life of such great incarnations. So their life is just to teach us. There is nothing else there. That is why Swami Saradananda, the writer, author of this biography, he started writing this by not from the beginning, not from his childhood. In fact, that was written at the end. He began writing the biography with this Guru Bhava, Sri Ramakrishna as the teacher, because that was the main purpose of his advent. His coming into human body was to teach. So every action that he did, as he himself had said, had this only purpose, to bring that bliss to people like us. We want happiness and we don't know where to get it. So look, Sri Ramakrishna is saying, watch me. And then watching that, what happens is so clear that we see the perfection that is already within us. We don't need then anything. We become happy. Otherwise, there is no end to the needs. And they keep on growing and growing. And thus we remain impure. But looking at Sri Ramakrishna, we see that each of us is perfect. I am perfect. I don't need anything. And thus my suffering is gone. And that is why those great sages who bring such life, these life stories of these incarnations to us, they are the greatest givers. So, Swami Saradananda wrote this part first, because he himself told in the introduction, the preface of this book, that it is why did he start writing like this? The chronologically he should have written that the advent of Sri Ramakrishna and so forth, that how things were in the beginning, the historic account which is given. Now the published edition of the book as a whole, that goes in that chronological order, but that is not how he wrote. When asked, why did you do like this, why did you not just begin from the beginning and then end there that Sri Ramakrishna passed away on such and such date at such and such place, and these were the people around him, he was being treated by this doctor, and that would have been a proper chronological description of his life. He has not described the last days at all in this, and he has not described the some of the early parts, early events in his biography with that much detail, because he says, first of all, I didn't know when I started this that how far shall I be able to go in this endeavor. Life is just here today, gone tomorrow. So therefore, let us finish the most important thing, description of the most important part of his life. And so that is how he decided to start with this. So, and we see in this that how the teachership of Sri Ramakrishna manifested without giving lectures as such. We sometimes mistake that the quality of a teacher means how wonderfully that person gives lectures. It is giving lectures is good, nothing wrong about it, but that is not what teaches. It is the communication that happens from the heart to the other heart. The ignorance of that heart gets removed by that connection. That is the teachership. Lecture is one channel through which it can be done, but that has its own drawbacks. Every channel has its drawbacks. The best teachership, as described in Shankaracharya's Dakshinamurti hymn, a great hymn of tremendous, that Vedantic truth of this universe as reality and as appearance. It is a very beautiful hymn, tremendously poetic, and philosophy, practical philosophy in its excellence. So, there at the end the verse goes, Mauna Vyakhya Prakatita Parabrahma Tattvam Yuvanam, that it is how this great principle of divinity or Brahman is spoken. Mauna Vyakhya. It has been illustrated or brought forth or taught by the means of silence. The means of silence. Silence is the means. Silence is the lecture. Mauna Vyakhya Prakatita Parabrahma Tattvam Yuvanam. And when I reflect on how did I learn a little bit of what I know, most of the learning I got from those who never gave lectures. Their living was the lecture, that how they acted, that action, and we always know that the actions speak louder than the words. It is so. The actions of Sri Ramakrishna were the real eloquent teachers. Not that he did not use words, but that was not the best or the most prominent means that was used by him. Here one can think of that great teaching of Saint Francis of Assisi. He said, well, they preach all the time, but use words only when necessary. It is talking, we think that the more talking, more that oratorial skills employed, more that fervor of the eloquence is scattered, the more we learn. No, it is Sri Ramakrishna gave a nice example. It is the effervescence. You put a little milk, where he saw all these examples. It is, I don't know if you have that experience. I don't think Tommy has ever done that. But if there is a big frying pan, in a big pan, put just a little quantity, half an ounce of milk, and then boil. Now that milk rises up, forms a big, huge bubble on the top. As if you look at that, you will say, wow, huge quantity of milk. But he says, look what has happened, that there is only a little milk, that also was there. And now as you boiled it, all that got stuck to that frying pan, nothing is left. So it is, that is how, many times we do not think of a teacher who does not give lectures. It is, Holy Mother was, there in Chennai, Madras, what used to be called in Madras. So when she was to come there, many such people, they wanted to hear the lecture of Holy Mother. Now those of you who have read her life, can you imagine Holy Mother standing from the podium and giving a lecture like that, Yogatmananda or whatever, gives? It is terrible. You can never imagine Holy Mother doing or needing any such nonsensical thing. And when they inquired, when is the Holy Mother's lecture, we will come to listen to her lecture. And they were terribly disappointed when they were told that no, she doesn't give lectures. And what kind of, she is not learned. Nothing to learn from her if she is not giving lectures. It is, therefore, Sri Ramakrishna's methods of teaching, they were not, hey, come on, listen, I am giving lecture today. No, not like that. Some incidents have been narrated here. He lived with that tremendous love for God. Every pore of his personality oozed out that love of God that one can easily see. And then that is to be the what is needed for this transmission. The channel is created by this love, the divine love. So through that the teaching was given. Now we have some ideas, our own ideas of love. That love means you have to embrace and pat and then say some very soft words that we would consider as love. But there are ways that the love can in different situations be expressed differently. Very apparently very harsh scolding could be an expression of very intense love. It is that there was one disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, full of love, and his name was therefore Swami Premananda. And he used to scold all those novices who would come to become monks at Belur Math. He was the manager at Belur Math then. So he would scold them left and right, and with such bitterness that they would start crying. And not only that, sometimes he would say, "Take these 2 pence, take these 2 pennies and get out from here. Get out. You are not fit to stay here." And then that person would be in tears. Then another Swami would console him. "Look, he has given you 2 pennies. 1 penny is the fare to cross the Ganges. So you go, cross the Ganges, and then buy another penny, again come back." So that is, and then after that, Premananda, he would think, why he said all these things to me. And while going away from the mutt, would introspect. Because that inner love was so much, it would create that impact. In spite of the expression of that love was not what is the normal love. It is, for example, it is a surgeon's knife. A surgeon may give a deep cut and in fact cut your heart. Is it same as a murderer would come and stab your heart? Apparently the actions look like similar, but with completely different purpose. So here an incident that we were seeing last time, that we will quickly see that about Rani Rasmani, what was happening. Rani Rasmani, the owner of that temple, tremendously respected lady, very rich, and all there around, it was her property. Everybody around there were her employees and were always pandering her to please her so that they may get a raise in their salary. That is how they were. And this Rani Rasmani was very much attracted to Sri Ramakrishna because of that devotional fervor that used to come out from Sri Ramakrishna. She was a very good devotee and would come from time to time to listen to Sri Ramakrishna's devotional singing. So, like that, on one occasion she had come. Now the mind is all embroiled otherwise, like we all have this problem. A lot of works that we do, and we start thinking about God and then all those things that we were doing, all our works, they start crowding in the brain. Sounds familiar? No? You start thinking on God and the mind just sits on God, or some other thoughts start coming. What happens? What? thinking other thoughts, all other thoughts start crowding in. Uh, Now, the mind has to be turned away from those thoughts. So, otherwise, you will not get what is being given. So, Rani Rasmani that day sat to listen to Sri Ramakrishna singing. She was meditating and while doing her japam, repetition of mantra, was listening to Sri Ramakrishna singing. That one day Rani Rasmani went to the temple. The temple officials were very busy. Even those who usually evaded their work were wholeheartedly carrying out their respective duties. After bathing in the Ganges, the Rani entered the Kali temple. The worship and the decoration of Kali were finished. She bowed down to the Divine Mother and sat on a seat near the image to perform her daily worship. Seeing the master nearby, she asked him to sing a few songs in praise of the mother. The master sat near the Rani and with overwhelming devotion began to sing the songs of Ram Prasad, Kamala Kanta and other mystics. As the Rani listened, she performed worship and japa. But after a while, the master became irritated and stopped singing. He exclaimed indignantly, "Shame on you to think such thoughts even here." With that, he suddenly slapped the Rani. The master was then like an angry father who punishes a misbehaving child. But who could understand this? This is a teachership. It is that the mind who was wandering all around here, there, will have to be removed from all those thoughts, and the modern educationalist will not endorse this kind of methods, should not. After all, they are people are not like Sri Ramakrishna. The teachers are not all like Sri Ramakrishna. So, it is, but this is an important thing, and that is absent, I would say, from modern pedagogy. That the idea of some punitive measure is being removed. Punitive measure is considered bad, but actually, I personally, when I see my school days and how the parents brought me up, I can easily see that their punitive actions were much better teachers than their very kind words. The kind words were there, okay, good, but then the scoldings and the beatings that I got, and I got plenty of it. It is so. It is, and now I feel I am better off with all that. It is thankfully my parents and those teachers in my school, and they were not trained in this kind of modern pedagogy, that no, the child should never be scolded and never should be stopped from what is doing, because then that will create a trauma and what not. It is, these ideas are, they have some truth in it. I don't say that they are absolutely bad. because things do go to the other extreme, that somebody takes to beating as the only way of teaching. Beat the child hollow. That is not the way to teach either. It is, but there are how do we know that we are doing something which is not right? It is something that is terrible, very wrong. How do we know that? By making us aware of what it will incur. If you, this is just the human animal that needs to be trained. That like the dog is trained, there are the dog school. So one of our devotees had a dog. So she first she got the training about how to train the dog, and that is how trick or treat. That if the dog does what is told to the dog, what is hinted, then the dog gets a treat. And if the dog didn't do right, gets a stick. So it is, now that stick is not for beating as such, but the pain tells us that I should not do it. When you get a painful sensation, then you know that you should not be doing that. And if you say there is a thorn and you put your hands or feet on that, then it pricks, and then that tells you, no, you should not walk like that or barefoot there, because then you get the painful sensation of that prick. If you don't get it, then you continue. It is that is what happens with those who have that disease called leprosy. And their skin sensitivity goes away, and therefore even if they touch a red hot pan, they don't feel the heat, they get burned. But because they do not feel a painful sensation, and they don't drop it. It is those who have the normal sensitivities. Now you touch a hot pan, even if it is on the stove, you become careful that I should not touch it like that. You take some cloth or something else to hold, and then you use. But if I get a painful sensation, I won't do it. Oh, it burnt my fingers, I should not do it. So therefore, I had gone to one family. I was in Salt Lake City, and then that family has a little 2-year-old. Now 2-year-old, so it is, we don't remember our 2-year-old, but it is when we see other 2-year-olds, then we know what kind of behavior is to be expected. So normally, and this little child is perfect 2-year-old. So he runs about here and there, throws things, this, that, and now that mother is at wit's end, what can be done, how to hold. It is difficult to hold somehow. So she said, well, if he falls and he gets hit, then he will understand that he should not do like that. That will teach him. My telling is not teaching. It is, I told, don't do that. But then the child gets exactly opposite message, that I have to do that. It is just because my mom is telling me, don't do that. Then what should I be doing? I should do exactly in that what mom is telling me, don't do. So therefore that is not working. So but then while running he fell, and then started crying, and that it is, but then understood that he should not run like this, should be more careful. So, Sri Ramakrishna scolded and slapped Rani Rasmani. It is why? Because Sri Ramakrishna could see that we have seen earlier, that he could see everybody's mind as if it is put in a glass case. Just think of it. And so what is going on in the minds of people was very apparent to Sri Ramakrishna. It is even now, think of Sri Ramakrishna, think of his presence. He is right with us. He is right with us. And he knows what is going on in our minds. He knows it very well. So, if we are going to learn from Sri Ramakrishna, then we should be ready to get slapped from Sri Ramakrishna. If we are not doing the right thing, that yes, look, Rani Rasmani, immediately she recognized that, oh, my mind was going elsewhere. It was thinking at that time, it was later on, it seems that she told to somebody else that her mind was thinking about a lawsuit that was going on. And lawsuits are like that, that it is in the court, but a person keeps on thinking about it, what will happen, what argument the other party is going to give, and you start thinking about it, you start daydreaming about it, and thus you see one misses the message of what is going on. So Rani Rasmani was thinking of a lawsuit. So when Sri Ramakrishna slapped her and scolded her, what happened? It understood, the mind understood that, oh, was going on a wrong track and was brought back to the right place. This is a challenge today to all the devotees, to keep the mind glued to the chosen ideal or the object of meditation. That, okay, I think of the object of meditation, and then we do not even know when it slipped off the mind and mind started thinking of other thoughts. To hold on. One Swami told me, as he was a wonderful teacher, that, well, I complain that I meditate, but nothing is happening. He said, are you meditating? Just think about it. Are you even able to hold the chosen ideal that you are meditating on? Are you able to hold it in your heart? How much are you able to visualize that? How much are you holding it in your heart at even the level of a figure, a form, or at the level which is more difficult, at the level of just thought or awareness of that presence? How much are you able to do that? It is keep on making the efforts to hold on to that, and thus the meditation will become, you see, more and more real. Then you will get the joy of meditation also. So it is with this punishment to the Rani, the queen. Rani means queen. So she was given this punishment by whom? who was seemingly one of the low paid workers appointed to do the worship ritual every day. That was the job description. So, that kind of person, externally speaking, that was his status, and that is how other employees in the temple would look upon Sri Ramakrishna. Only they would think that he is insane. He is not really a wise person. Instead of trying to get more and more benefits from the owners, he is not paying any attention to that. It is that is what happens, that in any job, people, yesterday somebody was asking me this question, that well, we have to be competitive, Swami. We have to, sell ourselves, that how good I am, how am I better than the other, so that we will rise on the ladder of our, jobs. So, our career will start shining more and more. I will get more and more promotions by learning to sell myself. So, it is Sri Ramakrishna was not doing like the others were doing. That it is because he didn't care for any of those things. He was just loving God and getting merged in that. Nothing more than is wanted in life. That was Sri Ramakrishna's status. And thus, the others, they even complained, we saw that part earlier, that they complained about Sri Ramakrishna, that please remove him, he is not doing the worship right. All these complaints means, then they will get a chance to get that position. If this fellow is taken out, then I may be able to get the scope to fill that place. But that was tolerated. They said, well, these owners, the rich people, sometimes they are crazy, so forget about it. But this was too much, and this was too much. And then but they were in a way happy. Now with this crazy act, this fellow is now going to be thrown out from here, cannot remain. It is one little child. That little boy does not like one teacher, and was complaining me very without any inhibition, was telling how bad that teacher is. She is so bad. She is, she tortures the kids. She ruins their lives and what not, It is, why? Because she gives more homework. So, it is a terrible teacher. And I said, but does she hit you? She doesn't hit you, isn't it? And this boy said, I wish she hits us, so that then she will be removed, because now see this 8-9-year-old child knows this. Now if that teacher hits, then everybody, all parents will lodge a complaint, she did something illegal, and then she will be removed. So, he says, I am waiting, if she hits, that would be great. So, this incident, Sri Ramakrishna is hitting Rani, was seen by all. Well, now that's the end of it. Not only Sri Ramakrishna would lose job, it is very likely that he will lose his life. Everybody was, all the guards of Rani, the temple staff and Rani's female servants began screaming for help, and the gatekeepers rushed in to seize the master. The office workers heard the commotion and were curious, so they quickly ran to the temple. But those who were responsible for the commotion, the master and Rani, remained calm and unperturbed, paying no attention to the hue and cry of the temple staff. The master remained aloof and composed, with a sweet smile on his lips. As for the Rani, instead of meditating on the Divine Mother, she had been thinking about the result of a lawsuit. As she reflected on this and realized her fault, she became embarrassed and pensive. See, the description is very educative description. That is what happens. Yes, and Sri Ramakrishna, when we go to Sri Ramakrishna and sit there meditating on God, he still slaps us if we move around, if we really have that devotion, so that our mind sits right on the object of meditation, on God. So, at the same time, she was surprised that the master had known what was in her mind. Normally, nobody would know what's going on in my mind. Even that person would not know what's going on in the mind. So, it is when the noise around her suddenly brought her back to her senses, she realized the gravity of the situation and became apprehensive that the small-minded temple staff might persecute the innocent master. She gravely ordered them. The junior priest, that was how Sri Ramakrishna was addressed there. His elder brother was the senior priest and he was the junior priest. He is not to blame. Don't say anything to him. Leave him alone. She said that in a stern, commanding voice. She had a very commanding voice, really like a queen. So, when Mathur later heard the whole story, Mathur is the son-in-law of Rani, he repeated the same order to the temple staff, that Sri Ramakrishna should not be scolded or said anything. Some of them were very disappointed, but what could they do? They kept quiet, thinking, these aristocrats have their own ways of life. So that is how, and we see this incident assumes a very exemplary importance. Such things, many such things are there in Sri Ramakrishna's life, but this one is chosen by the author as an example of how Sri Ramakrishna's teachership functioned. And the teachership is, he used to say there are three types of teachers. And he compared them to the three types of these doctors. The lowest type of doctor examines the patient and then gives the prescription. Hey, take this thrice a day, and for 1 month keep on taking this. And then thinks that my job is done. This is the lowest type of doctor. A better doctor keeps on calling, asking, hey, are you taking the medicine or not? You have to take it. Do not neglect. You have to take it, remember. So sternly keeps on reminding the disciple or the patient. The best doctor is if the patient is not taking the medicine, would sit, press him down, press the nose so that the mouth opens, if you they press the nose. I had to be given that treatment, very bitter medications. Those days the medications used to be terribly bitter, and I would refuse to take it. So, somebody would hold me, and then the nose would be pressed. So, now for the sake of breathing you open the mouth, and then the medicine would be poured. So, Sri Ramakrishna said, that is the best doctor. Even in spite of the reluctance of the patient is giving the medicine. Of course, in our modern all legal system in place, no doctor will even think of doing such a thing. It is so. Even if the doctor calls and says, "Are you taking the medicine?" somebody may put a lawsuit intruding on my privacy. So, it is. So, teacher just gives this thing, oh, this is how you should do, you read this thing, meditate like this, sit up and then keep on meditating, and forgets. Okay, now let them do whatever they want. It is. That is the one common rung of teachers will be like that. A little better, then they will inquire from time to time, hey, are you doing all this? Are you following the spiritual disciplines? How is your life going on? Are you feeling any improvement in your awareness? And so forth. That is the middle level teachers. And then the best will pull that disciple up, give a slap. Hey, what have you been doing? So that is how Sri Ramakrishna was that high level of teachers. Anyway, we shall continue this reading next Tuesday. Just meditate for 30 seconds, and in case if you have question, please go ahead. Yes, please. So, okay, no question. So, there is a treat kept here. No trick, only treat is there. So, please have this was brought by our Teresa. Teresa, most of you know Teresa. So, she had brought it to be given on Sunday, but somehow it got forgotten. So, Shrikanta wrote me that way, it is you can give it today. So, I said okay. Let us conclude with the closing prayers. May the Divine, who is Father in heaven of the Christians, Holy One of the Jewish faith, Allah of the Muslims, Buddha of the Buddhists, Tao of the Taoists, Great Spirit of the Native Americans, Ahur Mazda of the Zoroastrians, and Brahman of the Hindus, lead us from the unreal to the real, from darkness to light, from death to immortality. May the all-loving being manifest himself unto us and grant us abiding understanding and all-consuming divine love. Peace, peace, peace be unto all.